Alright folks, welcome to part 2, and good news, I've got wood. And we're going to be turning that wood into stud walls and bracing and all that sort of cool stuff. But before we start doing that, there's a bit to tidy up, I know. So, let's get on with it. Well, here we are again, and back to it. Tidying as always. Feels like I spent half my life tidying. I know I spent more tidying than I do building. But anyway, let's get to it. Alright folks, so obviously in part of the game we've got the heating system for the entire building. Because why not? Now, this might shock some of you, but I don't think this is really going to fit in the theme of Sweeney Todd. So, what we're going to do is we're going to extend the wall that's coming down here, that's going to hide the crawlway, tunnel, passageway. And we're basically going to extend past where the opening to that is and box in the actual heating system. Things that we need to keep in mind. Obviously we're going to need to get into it so that the guy can come and service it, so it needs to be relatively easy to get into. But we also don't want to give players playing the game false ideas or false hope or red herrings. Nobody likes red herrings. Red herrings that they can get into a opening if they see it here. So we need to hide things like hinges or locks or some way of fastening this shut so they're not getting the wrong idea thinking they're trying to get into there when in actual fact they should be trying to get into somewhere over there as part of the game. So what my thought is, I'm going to do a small stud wall coming out to roughly about 1.5 foot, maybe 2 foot from the wall, going from the floor all the way up, and then it's got this wonderful little angle going above it here, so we'll come out above that as well, and we'll get this so that it is lined up for where we want to be going for the entire wall following through. But we'll get this one done first, and then I'll do a return little stud wall coming off it up to the wall here. That will be so that we can fully enclose it at the bottom, and we'll leave an open space here so there's plenty of room to get into the front of the basically the heating system, service whatever they need, get to any of the pipes, all that sort of stuff from within the tunnel or crawl space or whatever it is. And what we'll do is we'll do a removable panel in the roof of that isn't going to jump out at people, that isn't going to be obvious to people. And we'll be able to just remove it when we need to, get into the heating system, do what we need to do, and then put it all back up nice and quick. But what it'll also mean is above the crawl space, whatever we're calling it, or the tunnel, we can put all our other things in there, such as wiring and so on and so forth like that, and all this power. But also it still then gives us access to the roof loft space above. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to make the top of the tunnel so that we can walk on it. So it's going to need to be pretty sturdy so that we can walk on it and we can still get to the loft space if we should need to get up there for whatever reason. While we're doing the build, we'll be needing to get up there for wiring, but after that, it'll be to check on the roof, to make sure that the insulation is enough, or to add more insulation or whatever. So, first job, let's get on with this small wall and we'll go from there. Now, I'm sure you'll get sick of me saying this, but I'm definitely no builder. I'm no Sparky, and I'm certainly not a wood butcher. And let's not get me started on plumbing. So, if anybody's wanting to take on any sort of build, for goodness sake, don't take notice of how I'm doing it. Okay. So, now that's out of the way, what we're thinking about now, as this is going ahead, as we're doing the tunnel and the crawl space and all that sort of stuff, things that are going through my mind are what I'm wanting the first room to look like. How do I want it to be? What sort of things are going to be in there, the sort of feel and so on like that. And straight away, how I do it is I'm trying to picture it. I'm trying to picture the scene. So there's a couple of ways that we can go down it. Either it's going to be a case of it's going to be like a very dark wood, or it's just going to be very, very dark in there. Everything's dark and it's quite sinister and like quite an eerie feeling to it. Or we actually try and make it look like a old-fashioned barber's that's maybe a little bit run down, maybe a little bit careworn, and it's just wanting, it feels like it's mucky, maybe a little bit of like sinister background music sort of thing, just to give it a little bit of that sort of vibe. And as far as looks-wise, it could be a case of the walls themselves look like they are old-fashioned brick, or it could be a case of they are old-fashioned plaster that's like had some whitewash and it's started to get mucky, or it's started to get damp or something like that. Or maybe it's like I had an old wallpaper on there, but it's starting to peel away and it's starting to look pretty grim. So that's the first things that we're looking at there. Or do we want to like split it so the maybe some of the walls or half of the walls or something like that are clad in some way, or maybe clad in like brick or brick effect, or they're clad in like a dark wood. So the whole time that we're doing that, or the whole time that I'm doing that, I'm thinking of other things as well. The stuff that's going through my head is, what's that going to do for me in the build? Is that going to help me conceal things? Is that going to help me hide joints in things that may be open? Access points, things like that. So with this one, in the first room, I've kind of, in my head, I'm thinking about, right, okay, well, it'd be kind of cool if the top half of all the walls kind of looked like an old-fashioned brick. Okay, and there's a couple of ways that we can do that. We can either do what they call brick slips, which is basically the fronts cut off of actual bricks, so they are pretty solid, and you stick those to the wall, and you basically you still point them up and everything, so that it looks like a brick wall. Or there's the other route that we can go down, and you can actually just buy panels that look like bricks, and you can get them in all different sort of looks and colours and all sorts of stuff really, that's going to fit with most themes. Or last of all, you can even do stuff with like using tape and jointing compound and making a brick effect yourself on the walls, and then you pull the tape off and that leaves the joints and everything, and that can look pretty cool. With this, I think we're probably going to go with, or at least I'm going to explore the look of some of the wood brick panels, so we're going to have a look at that. If we can make that work, and I can live with the effect, if I think it's good enough, then we'll go down that route. And if not, then we'll fall back onto brick slips, because I mean that's obviously the most time-consuming way, but it's going to look the best possible thing. It'll be the best feel as well, because that's one of the things that we try and go for when we're creating a room. It's the feel of the room as they're walking around, touching stuff. It feels solid, it feels genuine. And then the bottom half of the walls, I think that we're going to go with like a dark wood effect matchboard all the way around the room. Again, we can make it look like it's old, battered, scuffed. But what that's going to do for us is that's going to help with the reveal of the crawl space and the tunnel and everything like that, from the transition of room 1 to the last room. So that's going to help us, because we'll be able to hide any sort of joints and things like that we need to get rid of. And again, there's loads of different ways of getting that done. So we like different types of hinges and things like that. And the hinges that we might use, there's traditional like normal ones, or there's actual hidden hinges, or there's pivot hinges. Now, I've not personally used pivot hinges, but we've got some of those to give a go and see if it's going to work for this build. So I'm quite excited to give that a whirl and get stuck into that and get that made up. But we've just got to crack on with what we're doing right now. So what we're doing right now is the bones of it. We need to get the actual frames up for the walls, for the tunnel, for all that sort of stuff, and get that in. And like I was just saying, make it nice and sturdy, so that if we ever do need to get into the space above the tunnel, we can do, and it's going to be safe to walk on. Another thing that I'm quite keen on when we're building a room and when I'm thinking of a room, and like I said before, that's pretty much all I'm doing at this moment in time. As I'm doing what's pretty mundane, the building the studs and things like that at the moment, I'm thinking of the other things that's to come down the line and trying to get them lined up so that they're ready for us when we get to it. And one of the main things is going to be the lighting. You know, how we're going to do the lighting in here, what's going to look right, what sort of light fittings are going to fit in with the space itself. You know, do we have hanging lights? Do we have wall lights? What colour of the actual bulbs, things like that? Do we have them flickering? Do we not have them flickering? These are all the things that you've got to go through when you're creating that immersive experience. And if you don't, you end up not having that little voice in the back of your head that just tells you, yeah, you've hit it, this is right. Then we've also been out and about finding things that's going to fit into the space, what's going to look genuine, what's going to fit right in and look at home. For the barber's shop, obviously, immediate thing that springs to mind is, well, you need a barber's chair. And we've put the feelers out, and one of our good friends over at Harrison's Auctions and Antique Centre put the word out for us, and they've come through. They've found a fantastic chair, and that's going to be going in there when we've got to the point of we're moving bits and bats in. But we also did a little video that's going to be coming out in the next week or so for you to have a look at, just what we're looking for when we're walking around somewhere like Harrison's or one of our other haunts. So you'll be able to see a little bit of that, and by all means, get yourself down there yourself if you're anywhere local. Right then, folks, so that's it for this episode of the escape room build. Basically, as you can see, the progress that we've got, it's a bit time consuming, but what we're actually wanting to do is we're doing like a double decker type of a thing, as you know, and it just takes a bit of time. Got to make sure that when I'm walking down there and trying to get into the loft, I'm not going to end up falling through and breaking my neck. So, thank you very much for getting this far. Very well done to yourself. Give yourself a pat on the side. And if you can, give us a subscribe and a bit of a thumbs up. And don't forget to put something in the comments. Say what we're doing wrong. Or just ask us general questions. Or say what you like. And we'll catch you next week. See you later.